സ്പീഡ് വായിക്കാണ്. റെഡി. It was indeed a great surprise for me to see a tremendous improvement all over Japan since my last visit in 1937. This country had been practically destroyed in the Second World War. However, much bigger and better buildings have now come up in place of the old ones. A foreign visitor is astonished to see a wonderful growth not only in trade and industry in modern Japan, but also an increased activity and interest in the daily life of its people. It may be rightly asked as to how this country with no natural resources worth the name had been able to completely overcome the almost total destruction of the Second World War, but during the course of the last 15 years it had also been able to export all sorts of its products to the four corners of the world. No cotton grows in Japan, but its textile goods have earned a well-deserved reputation both in quality and price. Not an ounce of iron ore is found anywhere in Japan, but it supplies iron machinery and steel ware to almost every other country in the world. Its wonderful achievements lead to the conclusion that it is not the raw materials but men that can make a country. The secret of the remarkable rise in trade, industry and prosperity in Japan lies in certain outstanding features of this country and its people. Some of these important features which mostly struck me and are hard work and simple living, mutual cooperation, discipline and devotion to duty and love for the country, etc. Every man in Japan had great faith in the dignity of labor. No job is less important or too difficult for him. His living is simple. He sincerely believes in hard work. He works throughout the week, refreshes himself by enjoying the weekend and prepares himself again for putting in harder work. His interests are many and he knows how to make proper use of his earnings and spare time. Religion has no importance for him. An average man in Japan is so busy with his own affairs that he hardly finds time to think or talk ill of others or to interfere in others' business. When he reaches the age of 18, he tries to be self-supporting rather than a burden of his parents. It is pity that our country which is so rich. Ready? I am glad of this opportunity to address you. During the last 3 years, I met many of you both in the civil and defense services of this country. I have addressed you, discussed many matters with you, and worked in close touch with some of you. If I had my way, I would have liked to meet many more of you so that we might know each other better, for we are workers in the common cause and much depends upon the degree of our mutual understanding. Many have praised you greatly, and many have sometimes unfairly criticized you. That was natural in the circumstances, and it is possible to find most of us room for praise and room for criticism. Most of you have had to adopt yourselves to know to new conditions of work within a short period of time. I want to tell you that in the 3 years I have known you, I have found you as a whole loyal servants of the country. The way you have adopted yourselves to new conditions. Most of you have had to work much better than before because the situation demanded hard work. You have applied yourselves to this work with goodwill and a desire to serve this country of ours, which has at least achieved its freedom. Those of you who are in the defense services have had to face many trials and have stood a hard test successfully. You have thereby gained the praise of your countrymen. You have gained something even more, and that is self-confidence and faith in yourselves and your cause. Not only the men of the defense services, but all of us, whatever the capacity we have worked in, have stood the test of our faith and capacity during this early period of our freedom. Just at the moment when all our services as well as much else in the country had been split up, difficulties faced us all, bringing death and suffering to many human beings. While facing them, we set about rebuilding the structure that had been partly damaged. Let us not praise ourselves for what we did, for so much remains undone. But let us at least recognize our achievements, for they are not less important. It is difficult for all of us to adapt ourselves to changing conditions, and even when we do, physically the mind lags behind. It is just as difficult for others to develop. Today, I would like to touch upon some of the important issues that have arisen in relation to the pattern and structure of the plan. One important issue is whether we are doing enough for agriculture as compared to the other sectors, whether we are concentrating too much on heavy industry and not doing enough for consumer goods. Again, it is very often criticized that we are not doing enough for social services, particularly in regard to education. No doubt there is a very considerable increase to expenditure under education, but I must admit that we are not in a position to meet all the needs that emerge before us. The reasons are obvious. In the matter of provision of ancillary and basic facilities such as power, transport, etc., there is hardly a difference of opinion. They have to be adequate in order to meet the increasing requirements of production and distribution. So far as we have been able to judge, adequate arrangements have been made for those purposes. But there are still certain other questions in that connection to which there does not seem to be any satisfactory answer at the moment. For example, road development has not received adequate attention, and for shipbuilding, we have not been able to make sufficient provision. These are some of the lacunae, but broadly speaking, we have tried to meet the pressing needs of the economy as best as possible. Then there is the controversial question relating to the pattern of the plan, that is the respective shares of the privileged sector and the public sector in the overall plan outlay. This depends on the capacity of the two sectors in relation to the objectives of the plan, and I believe a fair balance has been struck in this matter. We have also to take into account the consumption requirements and the need for exports. We have also to ensure whether various targets laid down provide adequately for exports in the case of certain items, in order that we may not expose ourselves to serious difficulties regarding balance of payments. All these activities, more on agriculture, more on industries and other things, add up to a big total in terms of both money and effort. This means a corresponding increase in the size of the plan. It should not also be forgotten that the investment in the third plan will be practically as much as the total of investments. Ready? Fourth speed വായിക്കുകയാണ്. Today, no country can afford to lag behind in scientific study if it desires to keep its head above water. It is not possible for us to keep out of the current set in motion by science and scientific work done in the other countries, even if we wished to do so. We must therefore keep ourselves abreast of progress in the world at large. For that purpose, two aspects which to a layman like me appear to be rather distinct from each other in their practical application have to be kept in view. One is research of the theoretical or fundamental character, and the other is the application of the results of such fundamental research to the solution of the problems of everyday life and further the spread of practical scientific knowledge in our daily life in the field, factory or home by every man and woman, young or old, rich or poor. The importance of theoretical or fundamental research cannot be exaggerated because the question of practical application of a theory can arise only after a theory is known. But it is no refusal of its importance or value to say that the ordinary man is not greatly interested in it. He is more concerned with the practical application of scientific knowledge. He enjoys a ride in an automobile. He is happy if the application of some practical scientific method helps him to produce a few mounds more than he usually does in his tiny little field. He is happy if he is cured of a disease which was considered incurable. He is not much concerned in the detailed and deep scientific knowledge that has gone into the making and assembling of a motor car, implements of agriculture, the pump for irrigation, or the manure which was helped him growing more food, or in the improved highly specialized method of diagnosis or treatment of diseases. Speaking on behalf of the ordinary man, I am interested in the results and practical application of scientific knowledge for bettering my life, and I would like to tell the distinguished scientists, if any, that I shall be satisfied only if our scientists give us practical solutions for our problems. The solutions too should be such as are not, considering my limited equipment and resources, beyond my capacity to understand and apply to a practical manner. May I request you to fashion your work